Welcome to the top 5 most underrated hypercars in GTA Online. Remember, we're not including anything other than we're only going over things in the super class. Nothing in the sports class, nothing like that. So, yeah, these are only hypercars, nothing else. Let's get on the move on. Starting off at number 5 spot, here we have this thing. This is the Pegassi Osiris. This car is actually on sale right now for, let's find out actually. If you go to Legendary Motorsport, it is on sale along with the T20, one of the best cars in the game. It's for right now it's $1,365,000, which is how much I purchased it for. But you can normally get it for $1,950,000, which is not very cheap at all. This is added in the Ill-Gotten Gains Part 1 update, and overall, this car is actually quite good. It's all-wheel drive, it has pretty good handling, and the customization is pretty decent on it. And the looks are subjective, but I think it looks pretty nice. So why is it so underrated? A couple of different reasons. First off, its price. It's not exactly the fastest car for the price you're paying for it. And also, the sound, yeah, it's very quiet. People don't really seem to like that. But the final thing, though, and this is one of the major things, and no hate on this person at all, but Saints fan, or Dat Saints fan, whatever he is now, he likes to bash this car a lot. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that because, you know, it's his opinion. But at the same time, though, it does lead to a lot of people taking his word for it and thinking that the Osiris is a garbage car, when in reality it's actually quite good. It's relatively good. The silence of the engine, though, I mean, that does kind of get to me a little bit, but at the same time, though, it is nice to have some peace and quiet with these cars sometimes. I consider it more of a luxury car, so I can kind of justify that a little bit. Now, our number 4 spot. I'm going to go downstairs for this one. Alright, here it is. This car, Overflood Tyrant. This car is $2,515,000. And why is this so underrated? Well, you see the Devastate 8s right here? Look at the Tyrant compared to the Devastate 8. Notice something? The Tyrant's absolutely massive. It's almost as wide as it is long, so people don't really seem to like that, and understandably so. Overall, the car, it doesn't exactly feel that fast, but we'll get into that in a second. But also the lack of customization, which I can also see. And also, finally, there is one more complaint people also have. This is actually something I have too. If you tint the windows, the taillights get tinted. Yeah, it's really weird. So, that's why it's underrated. So, why are they wrong for underrating this car? Well, if you can actually learn to handle the size, which I've done kind of well in a way. Okay, freaking jets out there, but I mean, if you can learn to control that size, and also, if you just overall just look at how fast cars are passing by you, how fast you're passing the cars on the highway, you soon realize you're driving one of the best cars in the game. It has a top speed down the highway of 127, which is ridiculously fast for this game. And also, if you don't believe me that this thing's fast, I was able to smoke a Dubachi Wagner down the entire highway from here to Beaker's garage with this car. The Wagner was maxed out. This car is also maxed out. This thing beat a Wagner. The Wagner is one of the best cars in the game. If that's not fast, I don't know what is. Coming in at number 3 spot, we actually have 2 cars that I don't have in this garage, but they're still insanely underrated. And these cars, they're interesting enough. We have the Entity XXR and the Entity XF, which is down here. It's going to be right here. XF. So the XF is based on a Koenigsegg CCXR, while the XXR is based on the Koenigsegg 1-to-1. Now, the 2 Koenigsegg's, why are they so underrated? Well, first off, it's kind of disappointing that they don't have Koenigsegg doors, which is probably a contributing factor, but at the same time, these are kind of forgotten cars because you look at them like they're introduced on the. This one is introduced on like day one. It doesn't really seem like it's gonna be the fastest thing in the world. But then you actually buy it, and you get inside, and you start driving, and you realize, oh wow, pretty good for what I thought it was. Yeah, the XF. Now, as for the XXR though, it's mainly because of the update that was added in. The Super Sport Series. Not the most well-received update. Same thing can be said for the Tyrant. And let's be honest here. When is the last time you've seen an entity? Possibly even never. You probably, maybe even never have seen one. And I don't know why. Our number 2 spot. This car is actually one of my new favorites. The SOTL-Hyper. People call this thing a variety of different interesting names, like Tide Pod. They call it the Tampon. They call it the Tapon. Whatever it is. I call it the Typon. But this car is $1,980,000. This is probably one of the most underrated hypercars, if not the single most underrated one in the game. But it still didn't make it number 1 because there's one that's even rarer than this car. I've seen this car once being driven by someone else, and that was a long time ago. So what's wrong with this car? It doesn't feel that fast. It has a lot of customization though. The doors are pretty cool. They kind of open up just the slightest bit, but they still look freaking awesome. I mean, also the looks of this car, probably not the best of all time. It's based on a Hennessy Venom. And I mean, people just don't like it because it does not feel that fast. You know, they think it's like the bottom of the supercar class. It's really not. It has a top speed down the highway of 125, which is at least average. So it's not one of the worst cars in the game, I can tell you that much. And it could have definitely been better. But be honest with me here. When is the last time you've seen a Typon? Probably never. Because nobody drives this car except for me, it seems like. It's been a very long time since I've actually seen one. I mean, I've seen some like car beats before, but I'm talking about people actually utilizing this car and using it. The only time I see that anymore is when I'm driving it. And I don't really count because it's my car. Insanely underrated. And number 1 is kind of a mix here. These things have tied. The Zentorno and the ETR1. But more specifically the ETR1 because it's more rare than a freaking Zentorno. The Zentorno is considered a starter car. It's considered a starter car. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's bullshit. This car could be a primary. It's an awesome hypercar. Alright, the Zentorno is based on a Lamborghini Sesto Elemento and has kind of Aventador taillights, which look awesome. I've basically made a Hellfire variant of the Zentorno, and that's another thing I really like about it. You can do all these paint jobs with it. It's probably one of the best cars for paint jobs, because like the secondary color goes like around the rings, all this stuff here. And this car is it's actually a lot faster than a lot of people think it is. But the thing is though, this is actually a car people used to consider overpowered because you could not get shot out the back. That was a complaint that people had. Like, for the longest time we had the Vaca, you could get shot out the back with that one, kind of. We had the Wagner, people could shoot you out of the back, again, kind of with this thing. The Osiris, it was a lot easier to do because it's more open. But we had open cars like that. But then the Zentorno comes in, and I understand those cars are way back, but we had this thing just come in for 700, like a really cheap price as well, like $725,000. That's nothing in this game, pretty much, especially for what you're getting here. It's an awesome car, right here, Zentorno. But we had stuff that was pretty easy to shoot you out with, like the Cheetah, and I think the Monroe was pretty easy too. Infernus, don't even get me started on that thing. the Jester, the Vaca, the Carbon Desire. That was one of the easiest ones to shoot you out with. Basically every single thing before the Zentorno that was introduced on day one. You could get shot out with, but not the Zentorno. The ETR1, though, this is one of the most underrated in the game because it doesn't even look like a hypercar. It looks like a sports car. People don't seem to like that. Alright? It's $1,995,000 for one, which is pretty expensive. But here's the main thing, though. Whenever you go in here to purchase it, instead of selecting a color, you select a livery. See this? You select a livery. Alright, there's only 2 of them. But the thing is, though, people think that because you have to order this thing with a livery on, that you can't take that livery off. Well, I'm here to go ahead and show you guys that, of course, as you've seen this whole time, what fucking livery? There's no livery on this car. Look at it. I'll show you the whole car. There's no livery at all. No glitches, no nothing. And if you need even more proof than that, and this can actually be said for also the RE7B and the Tyrus, because they all have the same problem with the livery thing. We're taking this thing to a custom auto shop. I'm going to show you guys right now that there is a remove livery option. Just in case for those who think I'm lying about this. Livery, none. Right here, none option. There's the Denise livery, there's the Kronos livery, and then there's a none option. You just order it with the livery. Alright, and for the customization, it's mediocre at best, but you know, the speed of this thing is pretty decent. Alright, it's definitely a decent car. And overall, you got a couple spoiler options. You got your transmission, turbo, windows, all that stuff. All your classic mods. And it's got F1 tires, which makes the handling pretty nice. Alright, it has F1 tires because this is actually a Formula Drift car. But I also consider it to be more of a street racing car. I know, it looks like a freaking sports car. People don't like that, but it's underrated, man. Please tell me, other than car shows, when is the last time you've seen an ETR1? Probably never in your life. It's extremely hard to come by. The only time I really have ever really seen one, other than in car shows, is sitting here in my garage, because I don't think I've ever seen this thing before. At least being used by other players. I've never seen it. But that's my list, everybody. If you guys agree with anything or disagree with anything, let me know in the comment section below. I'm always like to hear what you guys have to say. I'm the Master One with Lamborghini, and we'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.